R. Thanks for being here. It's me, Ari Dustin, with another live. And again, before I continue, can you please confirm to me that you can hear me clearly? Let me know in the live chat, please. Can you hear me clearly? Let me know. I see Chris is here, Tammy. Good to have you here, Tammy. Suzanne's here too. Good to have you here, Suzanne. The Mantra's here, Maria's here, Cool Girl's here. All the rest is here. Please support yourself in the live chat. Thank you very much. All right, so you can hear me clearly? Okay, good. The title of this live stream is Don't Do It. Okay, don't do what? Well, that depends on the situation. Now, don't do it. Those are three words, actually four words, because don't is do not, but anyway, three words that many adults need to hear more often. Don't do it. I'm not going to talk about children right now because children have no option to reflect on things. Adults do. So adults should be told more often, don't do it. Because often people do things that won't work well in the long run. Got so focused on the temporary ease they're craving. Now, this isn't only for individuals. This counts for communities also. Don't do it. Now, maybe, let me give an example. There is this politician who comes with the promise of um, building more prisons so they can lock up the bad guys. And then the public thinks, man, this is a good idea. Get rid of all those criminals who were bothering us. We're finally left alone and we operate in ease. But then you have those conspiracy theorists, as they call them, calling it out and telling the people, don't vote for this guy. Because remember, if you have more prisons, who's going to finance all those prisons? You are. You have to pay more taxes. Once the prisons are there, they need to be maintained. And what's the prison without the prison population? So if you build more prisons, you're actually giving the incentive to police officers to use more police brutality to fill the prison population. And once you have a higher prison population, you have more disruption in the community in the long run. So the politician comes with this idea to build more prisons, and the public is okay with it. But the public doesn't think about the long term effects of having so many prisons in the country. So when you tell the people don't do it, don't vote this politician, they tell you, we'll ask for your opinion. It's our vote, we decide. Okay, so let's say now people vote for this politician. The politician gets into office, and those prisons are built. Now, but now you have all those prisons, they need to be maintained. So now you need prison staff. And besides prison staff, if the prisons are empty, it's going to look stupid. So now the prisons are built, but there aren't that many people around to put in the prisons. Some people think, hold on a minute. Why were the folks complaining about crime 5 years ago so much? And now you have more prisons and the prisons almost empty. That's going to look bad, right? So now you have another incentive that is to fill the prison population. So now they will lower the rate for the police because the police has a rate that they need to reach each year. So now they will lower the rate so that more people are arrested, more people are put in prison. Then the politician can say, you know what, 5 years ago, you all voted for me and for my program. Now, 5 years later, we have 25 more prisons and they're all filled with the bad guys. We've won. What they won't tell you is that most of the people in prison are for non-violent crimes. So they should even be in prison. Should do community service or whatever. So now there's an illusion like voting this politician was worth it, but actually more harm has caused to the community. The issue is a lot of times worldlings just don't care what's going on as long as they get their ease and they get their relief. They will pretend like they want solutions. But when you look at their actions and their behavior, over time you realize that they're lying. By lying, I mean they can't uh, they actually confess one thing, but they really want to do the other. That's lying. Now, if you want to do one thing, but for practical purposes, you do something else, that's not lying. That's just you being practical. But if you insist in one thing, well, you actually want something else, that's lying. That's scamming and conning other people. And one thing about worldlings, many worldlings in general are con artists. They want you to think that they want solutions. They want you to think that they want to move forward, but in fact, they're doing the exact opposite. Now, I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to discuss a phenomenon In this case, I'm taking the United States as an example. Hold on. Share screen. Mm, Okay. Let me know if you can see the screen, please. Thank you very much. Can you all see the screen that I'm sharing? Let me know in the live chat, please. Can you all see the screen? All right. Thank you. There was a delay in the live chat, but it's here. I got your confirmation. Now let's read this for a moment. I'm going to increase it a little bit. Okay. Over 600,000 individuals go missing in the United States every year. Fortunately, many missing children and adults are quickly found, alive and well. However, tens of thousands of individuals remain missing for more than a year, what many agencies consider cold cases. Hold on. If you're missing more than a year, you consider it a cold case. You hear that? Not 5 years, which I'd say is a long period to be missing. 1 year. Tens of thousands of people disappear every year in the United States. You hear that? Now, question for you. Do you think that all those people that go missing, that the public is not aware of it? Let me know in the live chat. Do you think the public is not aware of the tens of thousands of people that never come back home? Let me know in the live chat. Do you think the public is unaware of it? What do you think? One moment. All right. I got your answers over here. Most of you admit that they are aware. Now, there will be some people who are not aware. Of course. I mean, if you live in Nevada, for example, someone goes missing in Florida, well, duh, of course you're not aware that individual missing. You don't even know they exist. But if you live in the state of Maine, for example, and often people disappear in Maine, I'm sorry, but then you must notice some disruption in your community. Simple as that. Oh, and here's the thing. This is not the 19th century. This is the 21st century in which there are Amber Alerts out there. You have social media. You also have mainstream media. And most of the economy is digital anyway. So you will face rumors as well as alerts when someone is gone. Now, if there were 1,000 people going missing each year in the United States, well, then of course a lot of people wouldn't be aware because it's so little. It barely happens. But the fact people, um, tens of thousands of people disappear each year in the United States, that means in a decade, at least 100,000 people are gone. 10,000, let's say it's only 10,000 a year. Okay. Maybe some years it's more than others. Let's say that every year it's 10,000 people that disappear. In one decade, 10 years is 100,000 people. 100,000 people. I mean, there's no way 100,000 people can be gone like that in a decade. And there are no relatives that are missing them. There are no jobs that are missing stuff or whatever. Now, here there are some links you can go to check more about the missing persons cases. Well, you have the FBI. Now, I'm not really fond of the FBI, though they're the Jesuit connection. So, but anyway, the FBI is a good source you can use to find about the missing persons in the United States, even though I don't really trust it. But also you have this one of the World Population Review. This may be less reliable because They have to process the data from external sources, but you can use it also. And but anyway, when we go to the FBI website about missing kidnappings and missing persons, I just want you. I'm just going through it for a little moment. So you tell me what you notice about the people that go missing or who are disappearing. Okay. All right. Let me go further. Mhm. If you notice something, just say it in the live chat. You don't have to wait. This is real life I'm talking about here. Oh yeah, these are kidnappings indeed. And all right, let's take Texas for example. Um, yes, it's true. Doesn't matter your nationality or age. Indeed. So the whole idea of people disappearing, being kidnapped or whatever, it can happen to almost anyone. You can be white, you can be Hispanic, you can be black, Chinese. It doesn't matter. It affects everyone. That shows you it's not a race related issue. It's a fallen mankind related issue. Now, why won't the people admit that people disappear? Now, I want you to consider the following. And I'm going to use a short story just to illustrate this to you. I'm going to put the page over here. Look, let's say you have a village. A village has only 500 people living in it. Now, not all the 500 people are adults. You also have a lot of children in there. So let's say now you have a village of 500 people, and from the 500 people, only 200 of them are, you can say, 18 years and older. So all the rest of them are minors. So you have 300 minors, of which 100 are teenagers, and then you have 200 adults. Let's say that's a village. So there's one school in the village, there's one tavern where people go to get something to eat. So everyone knows everyone. If in a village like this, someone disappears, do you think it will be unnoticed? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. You'll realize later where I'm heading with this, but based on the example I gave onto you, that village of 500 people, 200 of them are adults, 300 of them are minors. And from the minors, 100 of them are teenagers. If one individual disappears out of the blue, do you think that the people will notice it? Let me know in the live chat. Okay, I got one answer already. Um, or actually two. What else the rest say? They just delay in the chat already. But I understand it's just a village of 500 people. Because only 500 people, most people kind of know one another. A second question: if someone disappears from that village of 500 people, do you think they're going to talk about it? That's the second question. Let me know what you think. If not, if you say no, then tell me why you don't think they're going to talk about it. All right. So, someone disappears, and they're going to talk about it because it's in their small community. How long do you think they're going to figure out there's foul play involved? How long you think it's going to take for them to realize that there's foul play? Let me know how long you think it's going to take. A month, a year? How long do you think it's going to take for those 500 people to realize that just not 500 because some are just children? How long do you think it's going to take for that village to admit it's foul play involved? Let me know. How long do you think it will take for they admit it's foul play? Someone says a week, others says depends, others says 48 hours. Ismir said 30 years. I don't know whether it's meant comical, Ismir, or not, but you have a point over there. Okay, so the village in this case knows, okay, someone is gone, and it's unusual this individual be gone, so there's some foul play over here. The next step is who is involved. And here's where it gets tricky. The moment you admit there's foul play involved, and this individual disappeared from your community, that means you have to look at your own community and realize we have some bad people around us. And then you need to realize that, hold on a minute, those bad people have been around all the time. And if those bad people have been around all the time, that means that something's wrong with all of you from noticing you have bad people around you. So then you need to admit your own deficiencies as a human being. That you all didn't realize you have those bad people around you. And this is where it gets controversial because the public does not want to admit their deficiencies. They don't want to do that. They want to remain at ease about themselves instead of facing that they need to improve and become better. Now, some people do admit, you know what, we need to improve, we need to get better as a community. That can happen, but that is rare. It's not the norm in the world. So, in a small village of around 500 people, maybe 1,000 people, when someone disappears, eventually they have to admit there are some bad folks around us. And the fact those bad folks being amongst us all the time and we didn't notice it means that there's something wrong with us. That means we're neglectful. So then two things can happen. Either people are going to speak up and things are going to be found out, or people are going to say, you know what, I'm not going to mention this because if I mention this, I may become a target. People are going to turn on me. I don't want to ruin my reputation, or I don't want to have to face retaliation. Let me stay quiet. And in the world, 9 out of 10 times, people decide to remain quiet. And that's just a small village. Imagine a big city with a lot of people around. In a big city, even though people are not that familiar with one another, you have more people around. So there are more eyes and more ears. So in a big city, people say in big cities it's easy to disappear. Well, that's not true. Let me tell you why. Because in a big city, you have more eyes and more ears. You think nobody saw you, but someone did see you. This is how it works in big cities. In small villages, there's no excuse for someone disappearing. Nobody knows anything. But in big cities, there's even less of an excuse. All right. In big cities these days, you even have security footage. Even private businesses, even people with a private properties, they have video cameras. Look, when it comes to missing persons cases, that's the controversy right over there. Are they going to admit that they have deficiencies as a population? If they admit this, then then they can heal, recover, and improve. If they refuse it, then they either need to pretend like the individual isn't really missing, that they just disappeared voluntarily, or they have to admit that, oh, we have no idea, or I'm sorry, I have to work from 9 to 5, so I can't. They have to come with excuses. Now, in these cases, it's good for the public to hear, don't do it. Just admit you as a population, people have deficiencies, and admit you people need to improve. Because here's the thing, when people disappear and the public decides to hush about it, what's going to happen is that the perpetrators are now at ease. And now other people who had bad instincts about hurting others are going to be more motivated to do it. Because 5 years ago, someone, a guy called Jack, went missing, but everyone knows that people couldn't stand Jack, so like someone took Jack out. And you know what? I want to take Bob out over here, but you know what? I can do it because 5 years ago, when Jack went missing, and everyone already knew that Jack was likely killed by one of their own, nobody did anything about it. So you know what? I can do it too. That's how those wannabe perpetrators think. Now, the reason I use missing person case as an example is to show you how the public 9 out of 10 times they do things collectively that will not benefit them. So let me tell you one thing. In movies, because movies have it based on something. Every movie you or every series you watch out there is based on something real. If you watch fantasy or science fiction movies, those are symbolic allegories of real things out there. There's no way anyone can come up with a movie or a series and it's not based on anything real out there. Even Shrek was based on a deformed man, a Frenchman that actually existed in history. All right? Shrek was based on a deformed man who, despite being deformed, had a pretty lady that would stay with him. So, that history of this deformed man who still had a pretty woman, that became the base for Shrek. Now, when it comes to horror movies, often the makers of horror movies will admit that their horror story is based on something that actually happened. They will. Now, in those movies that they make, before the drama, because in every movie there's some drama that excites you to keep watching the movie. If the movie has some drama, you want to watch it. So they have to create drama in the movie. But in every movie, there's one thing you'll notice. There's always one character that warns the protagonist that danger is coming. Maybe it's a detective that wants to research something. But then the locals try to hint towards him, leave this alone. You're going to get trouble if you come after this. Or they may say, you have no idea what you get yourself involved with. In movies, you always have one or two characters giving hints to the protagonist. The protagonist is the lead character of the movie to let it go. But of course, the lead character is stubborn, they won't let go, and eventually trouble happens. Those movies are hidden lessons they're teaching you. In reality, sometimes people will tell you, you know what, Rashid, don't talk about this case over here because this is a sensitive thing. When you talk about it, it's going to draw attention to a lot of things people don't want, so don't do it. Or some people say, dementia, please don't mention this because you mention this, it's going to make people upset, whatever. Sometimes people will hint towards you not to do something because they can clearly see that it's going to trigger some uh, some s- some conflict. In English, you have the saying, let sleeping dogs lie. Let sleeping dogs lie. Well, let's look at this literally. If you have a bunch of street dogs that are asleep, you don't want to wake them up because once they wake up, they begin to bark, and some of the dogs want to bite. And if you have a whole horde of dogs ready to bite, I'm sorry, but you can die, or it will be dangerous. So then you have to shoot them. If you don't have a gun, you have to run. So if you see a bunch of sleeping dogs, you stay quiet and you get away from the situation. Because if the dogs wake up, you're going to have trouble. Well, similar it is with human communities in the world. When you notice that there's a dormant conflict in the community, beware with mentioning the topic. If the topic needs to be addressed, do it in a comical way, like comedians do. Because if you notice that comedians mention all the dirt of the world, comedians mention all the dirt, but they do it in a form of comedy. And because they do it in a form of comedy, nobody can attack them because they're just a comedian. Comedians are meant to make fun of things. So comedians often get away with pointing out the truth to you. Let's say now that let's say now that a comedian makes a joke that a lot of the women are quite moody in the city. Now let's say that that's a fact that a lot of women in the city are moody because of a stress out mentality. The comedian mentions this and laughs about it, so people laugh with him. Deep down inside, people know, hey, he's telling the truth about something. But because he's a comedian, people think, hey, this man's just a comedian. He's making things up. But let's say now you openly say, why are the people, especially the female population here, so moody all the time? What goes on here? Once you ask that, plain like that, now people are forced to look at the situation and see things they don't want to see. Now that we look at the other issues like marital infidelity, child abuse, or companies that exploit the workers. So now there are a lot of things they need to deal with. And what's going to happen? They're going to be upset with you. Now they're going to target you. Now they're going to put all their frustration on you. But if you're a comedian and you mention it in a joking way, people don't even notice you mentioned something disturbing. Unless you're too explicit, but that's why comedians have guidelines. Yes, Dave Chappelle is one of such examples. He mentioned many controversial things that people don't want to talk about. Now, a comedian will tell you, don't do it, don't mention it, because the comedian is fully aware of all the deficiencies in the community. And their job as comedian is to make fun of the deficiencies of the community. They get paid to do that. Yes, Cat Williams does it too. Exactly. But a comedian will tell you, don't do it. I'm a comedian. I can get away doing this because I'm a comedian. You can't. So if you mention a fact about the community and you are a comedian, people will think, oh, who cares? It's Cat Williams, or it's just that a guy thinks he's funny. But if you're not a comedian, they'll think, who does he think he is mentioning this? Huh? Who does he think he is by just calling us out, making us feel uncomfortable? Look, okay, what you need to realize is that often people do not want to consider, you know what? Maybe it's better not to go this direction. Maybe it's better not to, um, you know what, point things out. Now, look, am I saying you should never address things in a community? You should. You should address things. However, when you address things, beware how you tread that area. For example, you have this advice in the world, and this is horrible advice you should never follow. But a lot of people follow it. They tell you if you have an issue with someone, go to that individual. Don't keep it in and take it out on other people. Go to that individual. And people say, oh, this is good advice. If you're upset about something, go to the individual. Let me tell you why this is horrible advice. Who's the one upset? You are. Who's the one with the weight? You are. Is it the other individual? No. So who's the one that needs that needs something to be fixed? Who's the one who has to be addressed? You are. If the other individual is dangerous or the other individual is risky, then you can address it in a constructive way. Because then it's obvious. But if the individual is not dangerous or there's no immediate threat from the individual, that means just you. You have an expectation you cling on to, and because that other individual doesn't match your expectation, now you're upset. Instead of you just being flexible and adapt your attitude to the situation, now you want to take it out on another individual for not making it easy on you. So actually, you're throwing a tantrum because your will is not validated. That's really what it's about. And so actually, that's quite narcissistic. So actually, you should look into the mirror and realize, you know what? Why am I upset with this guy over here or with her? What's going on? Why am I upset? What do I want? Oh, What I want, I can't really account for this. Let it go. This is how you do it. This is how you keep peace in a community. But what do people say in the world? If you have an issue against someone, go to that individual. So what happens now? Now you have people who have wrong expectations and they're upset because their will is not validated, and now they target someone else for not making it easy on them. And they tell them, I don't like you because you did this and that. Now they offload their unrest on another individual. Now let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. If you do this to the wrong individual, you may get you can be knocked out, or you may get a smear campaign against you, or you may be even sued in a court of law. All right. If you're in the live chat, please behave yourself, because I don't want to have to block people. Here, you get me? Good. Someone's leaving sociopathic comments in the live chat, so that individual has been put on a timeout. The next step is individual is blocked for life. Praise the Lord. The individual in the live chat said, go to the individual is not enough, but if you get rid of the individual, always get rid of the problem. So in this case, it's always the other individual you need to get rid of. You're the one that have an issue, and now it's someone else. You need to get rid of someone else who reminds you of the issue. Yeah, it's a troll, but look at this. Trolls often reveal how many people think. Let me explain to you. A troll, whether it's a bot on YouTube or it's an actual human being just want to escalate somewhere, they reveal what a lot of people think. And a lot of people think like that. When they are uncomfortable, they just want to offload the discomfort and be at ease, even if it means putting someone else in lives in jeopardy. So when you encounter a troll, pay attention to what the troll is saying. Don't go into the troll and lose yourself in arguments, but pay attention to what the troll is saying. Whoever this troll was actually exposed a lot of people think. They just want to have someone that they can offload upon so they can be at ease. But at the same time, they don't want to be held accountable for their actions. Remember what I said. If someone goes missing and the public is not addressing it, this will motivate future evildoers to do more evil. Now look, it's one thing to address dysfunction. It's a whole nother thing to be upset just because your will is not validated. If you're addressing dysfunction because you want improvement, that's one thing. But if you're not into getting improvement, just want to offload because you just want to you don't want to be quote unquote bothered, you are the perpetrator. You're operating in violence. And here's the thing: people like that who like to go to the individual directly, they never go directly to anyone who has a leverage over them, whether it's a police officer or a judge or the employer or whoever. They never do that. Why not? Because that individual uses the leverage against them if they go too far. They will always look for someone that they have a leverage over somehow to be upset with. And those people often want to hear, if you have a problem with someone, go towards them. We should tell such people more often, don't do it. Do not do it. Because here's the thing: others will see you harass this individual because you're upset, and they will think, hold on a minute. So you're going to do that to me too? They have contention in the community. Or here's the thing: when an individual offloads like that, they get used to offloading. So next time they'll offload at anyone else. So actually you are motivating sociopathic behavior in the community. How often do you hear people say, look in the mirror, examine yourself, and look for solutions? How often you hear that? You don't hear that often. Often you hear people say, you have an issue with an individual, go to that individual and leave the rest alone. Whoa, hold on. If there is dysfunction in a community, is it the community's responsibility to deal with the dysfunction? So why now are they telling you to deal with the individual on your own? What if the individual is a narcissist or a sociopath or some dangerous individual? Shouldn't the community be in on solving the issue? But they tell you if you have an issue with someone else, you go to another individual. So don't bother us with it. Just you figure it out on your own. That's enabling sociopathic behavior. That's enabling evildoers just look for victims of load. If the community would say, if you have an issue, you explain the issue towards us, and we're going to examine it. If they would do that, then a lot of perpetrators would cut it out immediately because they know they're not able to get away with what they want. But because the public enables narcissistic dumping, that's why perpetrators often are motivated to act out. As simple as that. So that advice, if you have an issue with someone else, go to the individual, don't do it. Because either you will encounter someone that will attack you in return, or you will develop a narcissistic attitude yourself in which you will begin to generate filth all around you. In any way, it won't end up well for anyone. But here's the thing with the public only wants to be at ease. They only want ease. They don't want solutions. Just like Christopher said, they call it honest. It's just frustration. They're frustrated. They're upset. Why they're frustrated? Because they're clinging onto something. And instead of admitting they're clinging onto something, they say, "Oh, I'm honest, but that I'm upset with this and that." No, it's not honesty. You have to admit that you are frustrated because you're clinging onto an outcome that doesn't happen. So now ask yourself, why are you clinging onto that outcome? Is that outcome worth it? No, they won't go there. And this is what always happens. Tension builds up in a community. And when tension builds up, they want someone to be honest towards. Or better, just want someone to offload upon. And here's the issue. When they offload on someone, an individual shakes off their stupidity and continues, now they look stupid. And when they offload on someone, that individual just continues with life like they don't exist, it makes them, it humiliates them. And when the public is humiliated because their anger is not taken seriously, now they become homicidal. And it's then that missing persons cases happen. So don't believe this nonsense that the public as a whole is unaware of the people going missing. They know what goes on. They know what goes on. There's always frustration that they won't address because frustration is a deficiency about themselves they won't admit. And because they're toxic, because they won't admit their own deficiencies and they won't look for help, now tension builds up. And when there's a lot of tension, they just feel the urge to look for someone to offload upon. And they say it's being honest. Sometimes it happens that the individual offload upon sees through it and laughs at it off and continues. So in this case, when the individual they target sees through it and moves on, they're humiliated, and now they either go after that individual or they look for someone else, a substitute victim, they get out upon. That also happens. Sometimes the individual that they want to go after is not reachable. Or let's think if you offload on someone openly and later something bad happens to the individual, you're the suspect. So often they won't go after the individual they have some issues with. They will go after someone who is totally not related to the event, but what was accessible because they think nobody's going to miss this individual. So a lot of people that go missing were actually murdered by the crowd who thought, oh, nobody's going to miss this individual. This individual it does have many relatives over here, or this individual, well, that's what they thought. So understand this. When the public does not want to admit their own deficiencies, automatically, sooner or later, someone is going to die as a result of violence. It's as simple as it is. So don't do it. Don't just reveal that you're upset. Even the Old Testament in the Bible, it warns you that only a fool will reveal how they're annoying instantly. The whole idea of getting annoyed itself is something foolish. Fools are the ones who get annoyed quickly. The whole thing of just being honest and direct with how you feel and think, the Bible calls it foolishness. Because here's the thing: if you're open direct with how you feel, people can use it against you now. Now they can use it against you and manipulate you. And here's the thing: just because you're upset doesn't mean you're right. Just because you're upset doesn't mean you're right about the situation. It can be that you're wrong. And just because you're upset doesn't mean the other owes you a change of behavior. If you are upset and you end up and you expect that the individual will just give in to what you want, I'm sorry, but that's not how it works. Just because you're upset doesn't mean the other owes you a change of behavior. It doesn't work like that. If you're upset and you're correct and you're right, then the other individual owes you a change of behavior. And if the individual is delusional, you just shake those off your feet and move on. Just because you're upset doesn't mean the other individual automatically owes you a change of behavior. Just because you're upset. But a lot of people in the world think that just because they're upset and they're quote unquote direct about it, other individual has the obligation to make them at ease. No, they don't. Look, I'm all about people getting along and being at peace with one another, absolutely. However, in the world, people are often subjected to expectations that don't add up. And a lot of folks get along with unreasonable expectations just to keep the peace. But let me tell you, when you get along with unreasonable expectations in the long run, you participate in a toxic environment that will explode. Whether it explodes on you or on someone else, you're participating in it. The best thing to do is to quietly and peacefully leave a bad situation. That's what we need to learn to do more often. But too many of us are so trained into putting boundaries or putting people in their place or standing up for ourselves. Unlearn all of that. Don't do it. The world taught you coping mechanisms, but those coping mechanisms keep you in danger, and those coping mechanisms will backfire. So instead of putting boundaries, instead of arguing, instead of standing up for yourself, or instead of ghosting people and all of that, just quietly leave the situation if you notice that the public is not willing to address this in a constructive way. And here's the thing: you need to be real with yourself too. Do you just want to escape? If you want to escape, you're part of the problem. Simple as that. So don't play the victim if you just want to escape. If you actually want a real solution, which includes giving up wrong expectation on your part, then you can proceed to confront an issue. But before you confront the issue, ask yourself always, are the people willing to even be realistic? If the people decide they want to be delusional, leave them in a fairy tale. When people want a fairy tale, you hand over the fairy tale to them. Let me repeat that. When people want a fairy tale, you hand over the fairy tale to them. You're not going to participate in fairy tale, but just give them the fairy tale that they want. You're not going to participate in that fairy tale. You're not going to promote or endorse it. But if they want a fairy tale, okay, here's your fairy tale. You keep it. I'm not part of it. That's what you do. When the public wants a fairy tale, give them their fairy tale. It's their fairy tale, right? Their unacceptable expectation, not yours. So give it back to them by not participating in it and not by arguing, fighting them about it. And there's something a lot of people do wrong. When the public wants a fairy tale, that's what they already decided that they prefer to be delusional than to be realistic. They already decided to be neglectful. So the moment you call out the truth or you force them to face the facts, you are going to be seen as a perpetrator. Even though you're not the perpetrator, you're doing the right thing by calling things out. Doing the right thing is not the best thing to do in this case because you are going to be seen as a perpetrator and you are going to be the one to take action against. And once they're agitated against you, they won't stop. They have to be stopped. Once the public turn on you because they're upset, they won't stop unless they're forced to stop. When they're forced to stop, it's going to be a toxic, humiliating situation. So understand this. When the public wants a fairy tale, give them their fairy tale. Don't participate in it. Don't approve it. Don't justify it. Don't make excuse for it. Just give them back the fairy tale. Okay, let's say you're at work like Tammy proposes. Okay, let's say you have colleagues who talk behind your back to the manager or whatever, so then talk to you when they're upset. Now you need to realize that you're dealing with unstable people who don't want to face reality. They're grown folks were not emotionally competent. Admit it. They're grown folks who are not emotionally competent. That's why they're all hiding behind the manager. In this case, you pick up that they're emotionally competent people, and by doing that, you admit, okay, so I can't expect much from these people. And alter your expectations. Then change your behavior to calm the public down while you are still working over there. Meanwhile, you pray, decree, and declare to, ex- to exhaust them so they won't have any time to pay attention to you. That's how it goes. So if you are in a quote unquote complicated situation in which you can't just leave a situation, whether it's work or whether it's a family setting, whatever, listen, admit when the deficiency of the population, and then realize that you do not mention this deficiency. As long as you're there, do not mention the deficiency. So don't say, why are you guys just going to the manager all the time? If you guys were upset because I was late a few times, why you just call it out? I was late because there was a train delay. I wasn't late because I just didn't care about the job. I mean, and here's another thing. You may be upset because I didn't say hi that morning. I'm sorry, but I was tired. I didn't sleep well. So I wasn't that awake. I still here, did my job. So you were upset because I didn't say hi, but you didn't say it? But you were complaining behind my back? What the heck is this? Are you so reliant on me saying hi to you in the morning? What the heck? Don't you see this a bit unstable? Listen, don't confront people like that. Don't call it out, because once you call it out, now they need to face on their own deficiencies. And if they already are operating like that they don't want to face on deficiencies, I'm telling you, you're dealing with people that are delusional. And delusional people are dangerous because once they get agitated or upset, they're going to offload. Emotionally, they're like babies in grown-up bodies. When they get upset or frustrated, or when they get hurt, or they feel hurt, they go off, especially in a group. And here's another thing. Some believers got mobbed at work because of this reason, because that belief was causing pearls for swine. Now listen to me. If a group of people don't want to face their own deficiencies, then let them stay with their fairy tale. Let them stay with it. Don't confront them and show them they need to improve as a grown individual. Because what's going to happen? How did they end up dysfunction like that? Their parents raised them. The community they grew up raised them. So if they ended up dysfunctional as an adult, who raised them? That means the other people that raised them was also dysfunctional. So you have a whole network of dysfunctional people connected to them. So when you expose to them they're dysfunctional, they're going to realize, well, hold on a minute, all the people that raised me were dysfunctional. So now they're going to complain to the people that raised them and to the people around them, and the people around them also don't want to admit they're dysfunctional. So now you're going to have a whole group, a whole mob you're going to have against you outside of work and at work. And that's how a lot of believers became mobbed at work. So even were physically beaten at work eventually. I have testimonies of such cases. Why? Because they triggered the anxiety of the public. Listen, if the people don't want to face their deficiencies and they don't want to be serious about improving, they are operating in a fairy tale. If they want a fairy tale, give their fairy tale to them. Let them have their fake victory. Learn to take some losses. If people complain towards you that you were lazy, even though everyone can clearly see you were not lazy at all, let them think you're lazy. Just apologize and say you're going to consider your behavior next time. Then you're taking responsibility. You hear their complaints, but at the same time you don't agree with their complaints. But you say, I'm going to consider my behavior. What can they do against you? But if you go on and fight them to prove your point that you weren't lazy, you shouldn't do that, because those people they just want to escape, and they escape by offloading their waste on you. So if you confront them, hey, they're already offloading on you. What's the next step? Attacking you. And here's the thing: not all well led, you weren't listening to what I'm saying. A lot of believers are not doing the will of Heavenly Father. They're not agreeing with Christ, because Christ said, "Don't cause pearls before swine." And some believers keep causing pearls before swine. If people don't want to admit their own deficiencies as a public as an individual, it means they're operating in a fairy tale. Give them the fairy tale. This is what you do. You get me? So if you're a believer and you don't obey this instruction from Christ, you don't shake the dust off your feet, what you do is you're crossing your pearls for swine. You're spending valuable effort thinking that people are going to improve, but they're going to use all your effort against you. Yet the believers were beaten, not only at work, but also outside of work. But when you look at those believers, they have darkness themselves, antisocial behaviors, weird expectations, all of that. I'm telling you, as a believer, you ought to renew your mind so that you can operate fully in the light. Don't operate in darkness as a believer and think you're safe. You're not. When you operate in darkness as a believer, you're actually stepping outside of a God's protection layer for you. And there's no way you can do that and things are going to end up well for you. Some people got killed because of this. I'm not saying believers, some people got killed because they caused spirits for swine. They addressed a dysfunction they better should have stayed quiet about. Listen, when people have the attitude, you only speak when you're spoken to. If people have this attitude, it's because they don't want to be confronted. Because if you open your mouth and you mention something they don't want to hear, that means they're challenged and they can't handle being challenged. So that's why they tell you don't speak unless you are allowed to speak. If people have this attitude, just walk away. When people have this attitude, you're only allowed to speak. If we allow you to speak, I'm telling you, they just want to control you. Such people, walk away from them. Listen, Danielle, the reason you notice the triggers is because you're not well developed in sensing your intuition. You will always feel when someone's about to go off. You'll always feel this toxic discomfort around someone if they're unstable. The fact that you don't feel it properly, Danielle, means that you need to develop in that area. Well, let you tell the truth. What's even the point of proving yourself when Christ knows everything anyway? Indeed. But here's the thing, sometimes we think that by proving ourselves, we're rescuing a situation, and actually we're doing worse. Listen, if someone claims you're lazy, where are the receipts you're lazy? You have to prove that you're lazy now. If they claim you're lazy, where's their proof? If they have no proof, but only emotional tantrums, the public should already know this person's off their minds. The public should tell the individual, cut it out. Stop saying this guy's lazy. Cut it out. If the public doesn't address the individual, just let the individual go off at you. That means the public is in on you being the target. Either secretly they all have issues against you, or they just want you to be the victim so they are left alone. In any case, if someone's going off at you and accuse you of being lazy and there's no proof you were lazy and the public just allows it to happen, the public's in on it. So when you confront an individual openly and the individual gets upset, the public's going to turn on you. Why? Because if that individual gets upset, next step is them exploding. What are going to explode upon? The community. They're not going to blame you for this individual exploding. They're going to expect you to have to take that bullshit this individual so they are at ease. That's how they are. That's why some people who have toxic parents or abusive parents eventually go no contact with them. And here's the thing, when you go no contact with an abusive or toxic parents, who are they going to offload the toxicity upon? The environment, the people around. So the people are not going to blame you saying, hey, you shouldn't treat your mom like that or your dad like that. Yes, they're bad people, but they're still your parents. Why are they saying that? Because when your parents have you as a victim, the rest is left alone. But if you're not around, they're going to feel the toxicity of your parents. So the public will often turn on you when you want better for yourself. That happens. So stop defending yourself against those people. Stop standing up for yourself. Stop putting boundaries, all of that. Listen, if the people don't want to comply with solutions, you admit it, you take a deep breath in and out, and you peacefully leave the situation and you're gone. Simple as that. And you don't come back. If they come after you, want to trying to get you back, they need to give an explanation and they need to repent. If not, it's over. Yami and Yah is telling the truth. Often when they feel rejected, that's enough already for them to go off. So understand this. You can't just be open, direct, or it's just the way I think. Don't do it. This whole I'm an adult, I do whatever I want, don't tell me what to do. Don't do it. This whole idea, you're an adult, it's your choice, you do it. Don't do it. Adults need to hear more often. Don't do it. Not because we try to control them or we try to play God over them, because we tell them, hey, the direction you're going is going to be a risky one. Listen, I do not believe in missing persons cases like the world is telling us. It's called a missing persons case because the individual has disappeared. Whether dead or alive or kidnapped, we don't know. But let me tell you, missing persons case in a sense that nobody knows anything. Listen, sometimes your relatives, some people don't know what happened, and they're seriously concerned. What happened to our daughter? What happened to our father? There are times family members are seriously concerned what happened to our loved one. That can happen. But that the public is totally not aware, that's bullshit. I don't believe it. I don't believe in missing persons cases in the sense that people actually don't know anything. Those missing persons cases are setups. Either the individual refused to be slapped around by the public, or that individual was collateral damage because the public just needed a substitute victim to offload their unrest. One of the two. And many missing persons cases, I dare to say, are collateral damage because it couldn't go after the actual individual that didn't respect their will. I told you already, cold cases don't exist. We call it a cold case, but actual cold cases don't really exist. As I mentioned before, often people remain silent just to get along or just to escape. By the way, I'm not, again, I told you, don't just go out there and expose things. Be wise in what you're doing. I had to learn this too. For example, if, for example, if, for example, a female colleague is a bit mm, is a bit emotional often, and you get fed up and call it out. Here's the thing: she was emotionally neglected as a child. Everyone that knew her in high school, college, all that knows about it, and they were all in on it. The moment you call her out on it, she's gonna realize, oh man, all these other people neglected me. What if she becomes suicidal or whatever? Then all the other people are gonna blame you for triggering this in her. Learn how to deal with her emotional attitude by either walking away or try to regulate it. I don't care that she's an adult. Just calling it out, I'm upset that you're so emotional. Hey, don't do it. You're going to get in trouble. In movies, some characters get away with just calling things out and just want to be left alone. In real life, nobody can do that. Nobody can do that. And listen, when the public wants a fairy tale, give them their fairy tale. Give them their fairy tale. Let them retain their bullshit, please. Do not call it out. Do not act out. Do not prove yourself. Peacefully walk away from that situation. I'm telling you. That's how you need to deal with these people. So again, this whole standing up for yourself, enforcing boundaries, self-respect, this and that, don't do it. Oh, you're upset because people don't submit to your limits. Oh, they cross my boundaries. Let me block them. Look for someone else. Okay, let's say you meet new people now. Those new people you meet are going to ask themselves, where are your previous associates? Where are your previous friends? And they're going to find out sooner or later that you cut them off because they overstepped your boundaries. Now, if they were sexually molesting you, whatever, that's different. But if they just didn't give in to your restrictions and you just cut them off, people are going to think, oh, so you just dispose of people because they don't submit your limit to the limits you put on them. So you're going to do the same to us. So you just ghosting people or cutting people off, unfriending and blocking them just like that, just because you want to, because it's your life, you decide. Don't do it, because any future relationship you will have with other people, every future social contact you'll have, this is going to haunt you. If you in the past just block people, cut people off out of the blue and all of that, every future human contact you'll have, it will haunt you. Because everyone else will ask, okay, you did this before. Did you change? Did you become a better human being? Are you sorry for what you did? Are you willing to do better? Because if not, I'm at risk of being involved with you. So a lot of people want to hide how bad they've treated other people because they know that if this will be exposed in the present, the current relationship would suffer harm. And here's the thing: when you hide such things about yourself, that you cut off other people, or that you neglect other people like that, you can hide it, say it's my privacy, blah blah blah. But eventually, people you're involved with today, they will notice that you're under some type of stress, and they're gonna figure out why you're so why are you under such a stress, and they're gonna figure out you're hiding something. And once they figure out, it's over. So this whole it's your life. You decide. You only have to account to yourself. No, that's not to your account to the Heavenly Father. Everyone. So this whole just cutting people off, unfriend them, and all of that. Listen, if someone is dangerous towards you, absolutely dangerous, then you cut them off cold and all of that. Only them there's actual danger. If there's actual danger, just avoid them, limit contact. That's it. But just cutting people off, saying being upset with them, and all of that, don't do it. It will haunt you in ways you don't realize yet. And if you did do it in the past, repent, pray about it. Don't contact those people anymore that you did dirt to because they won't be happy with you. Just move on, but realize that you can't just do things like that. Okay, first of all, being passive aggressive. Is being passive aggressive automatically always wrong? Is being indirect what you want always a wrong thing? We're used to in the Western world just to say what you want. This is what I want. I don't want to go beat around the bush. I just want what I want. The Bible calls this behavior just being direct what you want foolishness. Because even God Himself, it doesn't operate that way. Think about even God Himself, who has all the knowledge, doesn't act that way by just saying what He wants, just like that. Jesus didn't do that. So if Jesus Himself didn't do that, why do we think it's the best policy always just to throw everything out there? Are you kidding me? But here's the thing: people can be indirect with you with what they want. There's nothing wrong with that. But if they indirectly accusing you or indirectly suggesting blame on you, now if you are to blame because you're wrong, admit you're wrong. Okay, if you reflect on the situation, if you are to blame or if you could have done better, admit that you could have done better. Admit that you should have been more sensitive. Admit it, because once you admit it, then they have nothing on you anymore. If they are covertly or indirectly accusing you of something, if they are correct, you need to admit it and repent. If they're not correct, this is what you do. You pretend like you don't know what goes on. You pretend to be stupid. Meanwhile, you keep doing what you're doing and live and try to get out of situation. Not try, get out of situation sooner or later. If it's a job you have, look for another job. If you married someone like this and you realize, man, who the heck do I marry? Eventually, look for an excuse to separate from that individual. If it's your parents who are like that towards you, lower contact. You don't have to cut cut them off because cutting off is something demonic anyway. We shouldn't be operating like that. Only when there's actual danger. But if your parents are like that, limit contact. If some of your children are like that, I hope not, then limit contact. Simple as that. Listen, this whole being direct, willing whatever you will, and all of that, don't do it. Now you can be correct. You can be direct. When I'm teaching you about the spiritual world, I'm direct because you need to know these things. Or if there's danger, I'm direct. I'm blunt, saying, "Hey, this is dangerous. We need to cut this out." If there's danger, or if there's knowledge people need, like spiritual knowledge, then you are direct. When there's danger, and when there's invaluable information, then you're direct. Apart from that, you have to be indirect and considerate. You have to be flexible. If you're direct all the time, I'm sorry, but you're highly dysfunctional and even risky to be around. Simple as that. Don't do this Western world bulls. Just do whatever you want. I see people say, just my opinion. People say, don't apologize for your opinion or for how you feel. What? So what if your thinking is wrong? And your wrong thinking affects other people. Because listen, if you think wrong, you're going to feel wrong, you're going to act wrong. The way you think affects how you feel, and how you feel affects other people. So if your thinking is wrong, you should apologize if your thinking is wrong and correct your thinking. But then people say never apologize for your opinion. Whoa. So that means that people feel the entitlement to think and feel whatever they want and always have an excuse and get away with it. Watch out what people agree with. If someone shares a meme on social media, never apologize for your own opinion. Whoa. That means those people don't want to be challenged. That's a narcissistic attitude right over there. Watch out, because such people, if any time they're wrong, they're going to start blaming someone else for them being wrong. Or if you call them out on something, they're going to attack you. Say it's my opinion. Who are you to tell me what to do, whatever? Watch out with narcissistic statements. Never apologize for your opinion, for how you feel, for being honest. Honest thing, just offloading whatever how you think and all of that. Don't follow all that great advice. Boundaries, opinion, and all that. Listen, those are narcissistic coping mechanisms. Don't do all of that. Jesus told us that the meek shall inherit the earth. And Jesus was meek. So why are we so diabolically direct? Why are we so diabolically aggressive when we're upset? What the heck is that? Listen well, lad. Well, let us. Should you not still not prove yourself when people are saying lies about you, or you have to turn to the villain to you're the victim? Listen, if people pay attention, they will realize that you were the victim. The thing is, they don't care that you're the victim. They just want someone to discharge their unrest upon and continue. That's how psychotic and sociopathic the public has become. They just want someone to bear their weight so they are at ease. So if the people are delusional like that, what makes you think that you proving yourself is going to do any good? It won't do you any good. It won't. That's why when Jesus was removed from Pilate's court and brought to King Herod, he didn't say a word. King Herod knew fully well that Jesus was innocent. Everyone there at the Roman dynasty knew about it. So when Jesus was brought for King Herod should have stepped say, hey, leave this man alone. This man has done a lot of good things throughout the jurisdiction I'm king over. Herod didn't even stand up for Jesus. Herod went along with the public's abuse and mistreatment of Jesus. And Jesus, just what Jesus knew, what's the use of defending myself and opening my mouth on my own behalf, oh fear? People already made up their mind against me. Now, there are times you have to open up your mouth on your own behalf, of course. I'm not telling you to always just stay quiet and let things happen. There are times you have to open your mouth on your own behalf. Absolutely. But watch out when you open your mouth. There are times the best thing is to shut your mouth and quietly leave the situation. Simple as that. Again, it comes down to when the public wants a fairy tale, give them their fairy tale. Just give them the fairy tale. And then you walk away peacefully. By them giving their fairy tale, you're not enabling them to do wrong. They already want to do wrong. You just giving their wrong back to them so that they can't blame you for it when the wrong backfires on them. Simple as that. There are times you call things out, especially when it harms children or whatever. You need to call things out. If it's child abuse or abuse of children, hey, then you call things out. And if people want to offload, well, that's how pathetic they are. But at least you called it out. If people say, oh, it's my child, I pay rent in my house, I have a right to beat my child whenever I want. If they say that, they expose themselves, and now you can use against them in a court of law. But I don't even advise you to go that far. And here's the thing: if people want a fairy tale, they already made up their minds that they're willing to put themselves and others at risk just to escape. Listen well to what I'm saying, Ophir. When someone made up their mind that they want a fairy tale, that means they just want to cling onto expectations that they can't justify. Let me tell you, they've already made up their mind that they're willing to endanger themselves and anyone else just to escape. The same way, a burglar will not break into a house if he's not willing to kill the individual that he broke into. Anytime a burglar breaks into a house, he comes with a weapon. No burglar just breaks into a house without any weapon because he knows if the owner of the house stands up, I need to be able to get out of the situation. So every burglar is already ready and prepared to knock you out or even kill you just to get out of the situation they put themselves in by breaking in. That's what every police officer will tell you. Well, I'm not talking about burglars over here, but just understand people that prefer a delusion instead of processing reality, let me tell you. Okay, by the way, them, it's just because you process reality doesn't mean you have to be focused on it all the time. If something is shocking or traumatizing, it's healthy to not talk about it sometimes. It's healthy to avoid it. Just because something is happening doesn't mean you automatically have to be involved discussing it. Sometimes it's healthy for your own mind to not discuss something and to leave certain things alone. Okay? So just because someone is reluctant to talk about something doesn't mean they're delusional and they want a fairy tale. Okay. Sometimes people just won't address certain things because they're not ready to. Okay. So just because someone is not fully admitting something doesn't mean they're delusional, and that doesn't mean that they are insist on a fairy tale. No. Fairy tale People that insist on fairy tales, people who know what goes on, but they refuse to deal with things and they insist on escaping. When someone wants a fairy tale, they are already ready to endanger you and other people. So they are already willing, when it comes down to it, to join forces with other people to take you out. When the public, not just an individual, when the public, a group of people, insists on a fairy tale, they already made up their mind. If anyone becomes an inconvenience in our way, we need to get rid of the individual. So they already made up their mind that they're either going to beat you up, or they're going to set you up to be go to prison, or that they will um, mutilate you, so you won't be able to do anything about them, or they will actually kill you. When the public insists on a fact, they already made up their mind that murder and torture is an option. Anytime the public insists on a fairy tale, they already made plain that murder and torture are options. So murder and torture are options on the table just in case. And often they don't want to do it, so they let criminals from the street do it, or they let the police do it. That's why in some countries, police officers get away with torturing and violating human rights, because the public is in on it. If the public was in on it, the police officer wouldn't dare to do it. Simple as that. So again, the title of the live stream is "Don't Do It." Whatever it is that you shouldn't do depends on the context. But I'm telling you one thing: don't do this short-sighted attitude in which you just want to be left alone and escape a bad situation. If situation is bad, you shouldn't want to leave the situation. That's healthy. But just escaping, no. Leave the situation peacefully. That's what you need to do, not just escape. All right. Good. Are there any questions about this topic here? Let me know in the live chat. Thank you very much. Mhm. All right. By the way, if you have to go now because you have to go to work or you have to go to sleep or whatever, you can go. The class is over. But for those who have questions, I'll stay here for another minute. If I get no questions, I'll close down the live stream. David Ben Israel. Um, David, um, if you can, mail me your cell phone number because I have some minutes left on my contract. So I'll have a quick phone fellowship with you. So mail me your cell phone number and the country you're from. All right. Thank you. I'm not going to talk about other individuals right now. I just want to stay to the topic. If you have a specific question about this individual, email me and ask me why. That will be better off. Someone asked, so you think that sometimes it's smart to conceal my happy expression? Sometimes I can sense people are being upset by it. Yes, absolutely. 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 Sometimes you need to conceal how happy you are, especially when people around you don't believe in happiness. All right. All right. Didn't get any more questions. Thank you all for being here. Keep on agree with Christ. Be at peace. And I'll see you next time. Shalom.